Welcome to WTF, the only askreddit channel that will blow your mind. Like and subscribe right now to support Pepe's career as an independent musician. Askreddit. Younger generations of Reddit. What is something that is going on right now that older generations just don't seem to understand? I'm currently in high school and I don't think older generations understand the utter hopelessness I feel when I think about college. Like, nobody really pressed how much it cost to me when I was younger, so I didn't know to save up, and I don't have a lot in my college fund because my parents make a rather average income. Plus, if you add in the fact that they're helping to pay for 3 kids' college tuition, I feel no other choice than to get the best possible grades for scholarships, shoot extremely high for my career choice, and hope for the best. I'd much rather do something with music or art, but instead I think I'll be going into a STEM field, just so that I'll be able to support myself. How hiring is done in the 21st century. They do not get it. My older family member walked into a job at IBM decades ago with a basic English degree from a no-name college. She just asked if they were hiring, and there was a random position open, and she got it. When she retired, they were replacing her with millennials who needed both an undergrad/grad degree in that STEM field and work experience. She would have been laughed at in the 21st century walking into a tech company asking if they were hiring, and her resume wouldn't have passed the initial checks on their website when applying. Don't even get me started on their misconceptions of the cost daycare. They look down on stay-at-home moms, cause what could daycare really cost? $200 maximum for 3 kids. That is what women I knew paid in 1985. She's setting a bad example not working 3 kids in full-time daycare. In case old people are reading this, $1,500 MO at a crack house maybe. I've seen rates around $8,000 a month plus in the Bay Area. You'd be lucky to get a decent babysitter for one night at $200. Edit. This blew up just a bit. To clarify, I know that the Bay Area is not representative of US prices. I provided that example on the high end because I know it's ridiculous. It sounds like a few people have found childcare below Milo scale of $500 a kid per month. Awesome. But mostly it sounds higher than that in the US. My own area, not the Bay Area or even California, ranges $700 to $1,200 for kid a month for full-time care. Willing to pay rent just to live alone. I'm debating whether I want to get a 1-bed flat and save less money over 10 years to eventually buy a house, or whether I want to continue living in a house share for another 3 to 4 years and save more money to buy a house sooner. We are not competing with our peers, we are competing with the world. With social media and multinational companies, there's an ever-ending amount of people above you that you are told to strive for. It makes the rat race feel all too real as you scramble your way slightly upwards to a level where you can just support yourself financially. But in reality you're still at the bottom with no real money to save or invest, and you're dragged down by a stone of credit card and student loan debt. You eventually realize that the rat race is a complete waste of time. Those jobs are meaningless, the job title's just hot air. When you retire you will immediately lose your lofty corporate status, unless you are some real big shot like an American banksier/chairman, have left no real impact on the world, and will be instantly forgotten. You're the chief finance officer at Blue Office Industries, had a seat on the board, and got paid £4 million a year. Man, once you're retired you're just another anonymous rich person. Nobody cares. So what was it all for? You can't pause an online game. Minimalism, or just mindfulness in general. At least for my parents, they just don't get the idea that, besides not having the money for it, it is super empowering not to have so much junk that you can't park your car in the garage. It took years for my family to understand that I have to carry every single thing I own up and down flights or stairs when I move. I move every year, so for the love of God stop giving me things for Christmas. The financial crisis we all face. Cost of living vs wages. This for sure. In my city the average pay per year is around $45k, but the rent for 1-bedroom places has crept up to $2k a month. It's really hard to make ends meet, but my parents ask me things like where I'm going to go on vacation this year, etc. They traveled the world when they were young because flights were relatively cheap, and they bought an apartment in their 20s. They just can't grasp how much the cost of living has gone up while wages stay the same. Since so many of these center around college, I just want to point out what the state of Tennessee is doing, which has been received very well. As long as you make somewhat decent grades in high school and don't have any criminal offenses, you can go immediately into a 2-year degree at no cost except for textbooks. Tennessee promise for those who want to research further. That is how myself and a majority of my peers are going to school. And some private universities which accept the program make it easy to transition into a 4-year program if you wish to do so. Inflation. For some reason there is only a handful of the older generation that understand this. I cannot tell you how annoyed I get when I hear an old person say, back in my day we would do a 9-hour shift and only come away at the end of the day with 10 bob. Really frustrating. The neighbors will tell me about how they paid $100 a semester for college and don't get why people don't just work harder. Like, I don't know, maybe it's really ducking hard to make 30-40k a year without a degree while being a full-time student. Companies don't hire people with the idea of keeping them for decades. They favor part-time, temp, or unpaid internship positions and don't give raises, promotions, or pensions no matter how loyal you are. Loyalty means you get used and get more work with no pay increases in either the immediate or long term. You get paid more to leave. This is because of political and company policies designed by baby boomers. You cannot criticize us for not being loyal when you created this system. How everything has to be done with someone, like living alone, or going to a museum, or to the beach alone, is something only sad lonely do. They always give me these pitying looks. I really enjoy doing exactly what I want when I want. Just BCM alone doesn't mean I'm lonely. My parents think I'm certifiably insane for going out to eat or to the movies by myself. The only time it was a little odd yet still fantastic was when I had the entire theater to myself. It makes me sad for them that they miss out on things they want to do just because another person can't go when they want to. How detached those in power can be, especially with technology and sustainability. Me, with accidentally being given full access to one of the university servers, including files of other students. Lecturer, do you think that's an issue? Me internally, of course it's a ducking issue if I can delete other students' shit and make them fail. We can't just get a house, a job, or go to university as easily as older generations did. The whole just work for it claim just doesn't work anymore. Back then, the housing market was more accessible. It was easier to get a job without a stupid amount of experience or a degree, and back then university didn't plunge you into such crippling debt. Just because older generations could do these things when they were our age doesn't mean we are still able to do so now. Times have changed. The older generations have ducked the markets up for the younger generations. Most of my older relatives were given paid off homes as a gift and then sold them for extra cash for their own place once they decided they wanted to grow up and be their own kind of people. They also grew up dirt poor reportedly. Cute. I don't think that they understand how much the social climate has changed. Millennials get so much hate for being too into our phones, but so much of our world requires phones. For our jobs, we are expected to answer emails immediately. Socially, people become concerned or annoyed if you don't text right away. If you are out in public, people spend time on their phones because it is better to do that than stare awkwardly at all of the other people who are looking at their phones. I love the internet and phones because it connects me to so many people, but at the same time, it is hard because I would also love to connect with people more face to face, but because the way we usually connect with people has changed so much, it is not as easy to initiate or maintain face to face interactions. I think older generations think that we are on our phones because we are addicted or antisocial, but it is really that, at least for me, I'm fitting in with the way people socialize now. You know, I'm surprised to see nothing about mental health. In that case, mental health. The amount of young people suffering from such issues is staggering. Edit, I'll throw in the fact that I could be diagnosed with depression by some doctors, and I'm a young teen. That says a lot about young ones. What's more, I'm seen as the happy, not depressed one. That young people can be disabled. I get laughed at whenever I talk about my chronic health problems to an adult. They always want to one-up me and talk about how they've had this pain for 20 years longer than me. It's not a competition. I don't care. I just want people to stop dismissing me because I'm young and I look healthy, even though that phrase means nothing, because so many illnesses aren't very physically visible. It affects me negatively because even doctors won't take me seriously, and medical bills, while trying to pay for an education, means you constantly have no money or are in debt. Apparently they don't understand wages in any way, shape, or form. I saw an ad for a job online. A bachelor's degree, 10 years of experience for $10.48 an hour. That would mean you're about 32 years old working for about $3 over minimum wage, which doesn't cover the minimum necessities to live in the first place. And you could tell some old MF made this clueless ad because the font and language was all old school and just came off as lost as hell and out of touch. And they own all these rental properties and are trying to make people pay out of pocket for life. And it goes straight into their bank account. And they charge obscene amounts for rent while they're at it. And they won't cover any damages. They will watch you struggle and then sue your ass. Hardwood floors are better than carpeting. Roasted vegetables are better than boiled vegetables. How very expensive and mostly completely shit housing has become. Older people with their nice mortgage-free house and multiple rental properties for a bit of extra income in retirement sit there telling you what you can and can't afford. You've got too much stuff when properties are barely big enough for a pet mouse and have no storage space, etc. They use the no true landlord fallacy. They fix stuff in their rental properties, so therefore your own landlord isn't a shithead who is leaving the entire property barely habitable. You just have to scream and shout for months at a time if you want the hot water fixed or the rats dealt with. Even the cheap areas are not cheap, at least not compared to 25 years ago. That working your entire life away is by no means healthy or smart. Other countries use higher tax to balance the economy and keep their people sane. I'm often looked down on by older generations for pointing out that America isn't the best place to live for quality of life. Growing up dirt poor and then getting an old Corvette for your senior prom date and inheriting a home for your first marriage because you're a man now. Growing up dirt poor and eating 3 home-cooked meals per day with a dessert after each because mom didn't have to work. Kids didn't have to have jobs, but they could walk into any ice cream parlor, say hello, and pay for a new vehicle from their tips within a few months. Growing up dirt poor, but by the time you graduate, you can get any backdoor job as a plumber, mechanic, electrician, or carpenter and eventually start your own business with absolutely no certificate or licensure. Dirt poor back then sounds ducking fantastic to me. Our planet is dying. Edit. Yes, I understand the sun will die and Earth will die anyway. That's a very nihilist mentality and not helpful. That's billions of years from now. Stop being a neckbeard with an overly science opinion. Yes, the Earth will adapt, but it will be uninhabitable for humans. You should care about that. No, this climate change isn't normal and part of the path of Earth's normal life. Human activity is indisputable and something that hasn't happened in the billions of years the Earth has been around. It's on a rapid decline. Thinking this way is like saying, I'm gonna die anyway, so I might as well smoke crack every day. Yeah, you could have lived until 90, but now you're gonna die young in your 30s. Scale this to Earth, and we are going to expedite the death of Earth within the span of human life. I know this isn't a perfect analogy, and yes, technically, the Earth isn't dying, but Earth as we know it is dying. There will still be a ball of dirt hurling through space, but it won't have humans on it if we don't do anything. Thanks for tuning in for this WTF Red episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the one and only askreddit channel that will blow your mind every time.